Peace to Black Rap family. Welcome to another episode of Do Knowledge Radio, place where knowledge is born. This is your host, Knowledge Born a Lot, and this is living proof today, right now, on this sacred space, in the space of this platform, that persistency and patience is key. You understand what I'm saying? You know, Big Mama said a closed mouth don't get fed, okay? Begging does though. You know what I'm saying? You beg, you plead, you wait your time, you beg, you plead, you wait your time, and you get an opportunity like this to have a legend, a mama, an artist, a professor, an educator, a motivator, an inspirer, and a translator, one who takes and transmutes what you hear in the mind and manifested into physical reality in a palatable fashion that gives you an inspiration and a snapshot into the mind of the art world and the mind of the artist. So we have the artistic mind of God manifested in physical form, who shares the melodic notes of rhyme skills here with us today. So it becomes my honor and privilege at this time to introduce some, present to others, a special guest by a very special request, Queen Herawin of the Juggaknots in the building.
Wow, I have never had an introduction like that in my whole entire livelihood. Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be part of the show. Very excited to be here with you.
You gotta come where your fans are. Okay?
Hold on, yeah.
You gotta come with.
I got it. Yep, my shoes. I got that on the low. I was kind of.
You gotta come where your fans are. You understand?
Yeah,
you gotta come where your fans are, where the love is. You understand? Like.
Grateful always.
How are you? How were you at 12/12?
At 12/12, I'm doing well. I'm alive, grateful. We're just in such a crazy time right now, this crisis, that every day here is a blessing, mixed emotion to blessing, but blessing nonetheless. So I'm well. Thank you, family, as well. How about yourself, sir?
I'm good. I'm working on my tan out here. You understand?
Yeah.
You know, Corona out here showing us who real and who ain't real. I love her. You understand? She out there doing her thing. Baby daddy, you know Corona got a baby daddy, right?
Why she killing people?
Corona is out here telling you the reason why you don't mess with Mother Nature. You understand? Her baby daddy out here wreaking havoc. You know her baby daddy, right?
Wow. I hope I never see him because I don't want no part of that.
Her baby daddy is out here doing the same thing. He is called Pollen. That's her baby daddy. He out here pollinating. You understand what I'm saying? So they tag teaming out here, you know?
Yeah.
They out here letting you know, whoever you thought you was before you came outside, let me just adjust your orientation. You understand? We running ish out here. We running shit out here, and you just out here. You understand? We out here. I'm on your car before you get in your car. Right? Oh, you in the house?
Yeah.
I'm gonna come in your house. You understand? I'm breaching. You know, I'm breaching your area. I'm in your space. Okay, take it in, breathe it in.
Well, we're blessed, like
pollen roll
today, you know, and just hoping that everyone is doing their best to stay strong amidst this struggle right now.
What's the landscape like where you are? What that situation looking like out there?
You know, I'm in New York, so we're in a major part of the crisis right now. I mean, everybody is, but New York, it's affecting a lot of bodies, a lot of families, a lot of people. The numbers are crazy. I don't know the specific stats other than they're extremely high. They continue to change, and we're one of those peak places. You know, but again, blessed, you know, that I'm well, my family's well, and just I don't know how long this is gonna last, but it's really doing a number on us.
Corona ain't got nothing on the Juggaknot. You understand?
Well, we keep pushing. We keep pushing. Not the reason why my brother named back to the crew. So Big up to my brother,
I
both of
love
my
it.
brothers. Yeah, B Slim, aka Fever, aka, and then Breeze Brewin, of course. You know, Juggaknots got to keep pushing, got to keep going. And big up to Boo too.
So,
Hey, Boo as well.
word. So you came up in like an MC Light situation. I believe MC Light came up with her brothers in the group early on before we heard her.
It's an interesting dynamic.
So what was that like for you? You know, because you in that category, you in that lane, you right there in that lane
Yeah. Um,
lyrically with them lyrical giants. You understand?
lyrical giants,
So,
production giants, for sure. I mean, I would say, if I had to phrase it one word, is probably just very inspirational. Inspirational. I'm the youngest out of all of them. They are my actual brothers. So, growing up with them, household, home, I mean, this hip hop is that anyway, right? It's the fabric of who you are. It's a lifestyle. It's not just the genre. And so, I just saw it. I saw my brothers writing. I saw my brothers producing in the house things before they came out, hearing them in the crib. And it was just like, that's crazy. Going to studio sessions with them, seeing the process, you know, um, which was, real introspective, allow me to be introspective and just be like, all right, maybe I want to kind of tamper with this myself just because I was inspired. And so, there were a lot of, sessions of my own just writing that my brothers didn't know about. And then there were a lot of verses that my brothers did know about. And they were like, Breeze was more like, yeah, it's all right. You might want to go back to the drawing board aside. I think initially Kev, Fever against my brother. So Kev, aka Fever. Um, I think initially he was probably more like, all right, let's do this. He's always been, very motivational as far as let's record it, let's do it, let's just go. Oh, you got that? Okay, let's go. Breeze is more, you got that? Okay, that's good. Now go edit it and get it tighter. You know what I mean? So it was a really good balance. I think as far as inspiration and then motivation and then also tightening, making sure that what you're coming with is official. Just because you're biologically connected doesn't mean you're about to be a juggernaut. You got to show and prove. So that was part of
yeah.
my process. But it was very inspirational. I grew up around it. And prior to even that, or I would say maybe concurrently, the years is kind of, hip hop has been such a big part of me. So even before, I guess maybe even Juggaknots, but it was around the same time still. Like my brother was doing DJing and he, Fever, like he was into rhyming and stuff before he got into production and then kind of production right after around a similar time. He was really the first one to spearhead it. And then like a domino effect, that I would think inspired Breeze. And then that inspired me just seeing both of them. They're like old flyers of Fever supposed to like perform when he was super young, which means I was really, really young. So it was also just things around that time, EPMD, um, BDP, more BDP, I guess, actually. BDP, Public Enemy, Eric B. and Rakim, Light, you know, um, Slick Rick. There was just a lot of stuff at that point that was just what we were hearing, what I was hearing, and the combination of the two between external inspiration and then internal, just meaning the home. It, it just manifested in time. Yeah, but tough love.
I had an interview with Johnny Juice, DJ Johnny Juice.
Mhm.
Um, and he gave me the illest hip hop lesson I ever heard.
Mhm.
You know, he gave me a pictorial image through story of the Bronx and the conditions that birth hip hop. You know what I'm saying? The garbage
Right.
strike, the the blackouts. You see what I'm saying? These conditions that birth what we now kind of take for granted as hip hop. You see what I'm saying? Like,
or
but
have
it's
as
just like,
historical documents of hip
right,
hop. Right.
right. It's like your grandmother leaving you a house and land.
Mm-hmm.
They fought, they scraped, they saved, they went without to give you this house and this land to keep in the family. So you would always have a house because there was times where they did not have no house or it was uncertain. You see what I'm saying? So this ancestral legacy is in this house and in this land,
It's a good
and you
analogy.
get it
Yeah.
and you sell it.
Mm.
You sell it.
Mm.
Pennies on the dollar. You see what I'm saying? Somebody comes through, you in a hard time, you in a financial situation in a crisis, you don't see no way out, and you
Mm.
sell your land in your house,
Mm.
your family land in your house. It wasn't even yours. It
Mm.
was a passing through for you to have a place to stay, for that family to always have something. You see what I'm saying?
I sure do. It's a great
So
analogy. Mm-hmm.
when I look at hip hop, this is what I see. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I see that. I see something being gentrified. I saw something being what you call it, jacked. Somebody they might run up on you and jack you. You understand? Take your shit. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, from a place that was so authentic, like it was against the rules to sound like another person. To everybody sounds the same. You see what I'm saying? And whatever that creative form of expression is for them, to the artist,
Mm-hmm.
respect due. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if this is how you have to use to navigate through the treacherous waters that you in, because it's a dirty game, you do what you got to do. You see what I'm saying? Whatever. You know what I mean? Uh, just understand this time that you have this house and this land. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to make the
Mm-hmm.
most of it and prepare for somebody else in your family line to come in. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
that was my little rant.
No,
I'm
that's
saying
a
in
really good,
regards to that.
analogy. I mean, hence the preservers of hip hop. So it's preservation. And I think people who are authentic to the craft and do what they do, they're still holding, carrying that torch. They're still carrying that torch. The conflict with something like that, just staying in your analogy, is that then you have high rises, you have all this attractive other stuff that's really cool and modern and beautiful to live in, and it may not be that old stucco built brick house that has the original fireplace, original different features inside the crib. All this new modernism, it's still a way of life. People still looking for ways to exist and places to be housed in. And if that's what's comfortable for them, then after a while, it becomes a choice, right? It's like, do you provide something, prefer something that's more vintage and authentic, or something that's just clean, modern, and doesn't really have that much character to it, but it's commonplace. So after a while, it all boils down to choice. But the beauty is that it's there. It's like archaeological stuff. It's like you can pick up and be like, through internet. Oh shoot, who's Boogie Down Productions? I heard them say BDP. What's that? And you can do the search and you can
Right.
dig it up. You can be like, oh shoot, that was that. So it's just historical stuff. But thank God we have it. Thank God we have
Right.
it. And it still inspires a lot of people to make new things. And new doesn't mean
That's
bad,
real.
it's just, but I hear your point completely. You know what I mean? You know, it's like fluff versus nutrition. So, I mean, we all need some fluff
Yeah, I
too.
love my children. They can get healthy. You see what I'm saying? They could always make a lifestyle change. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not talking about the children. I'm talking about the parents that's in charge of the children.
Oh, heck yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
children, I'm good. You understand?
It's
Like
so
we
hard though.
like
It's
I'm
so hard. I'm not
I'm
gonna
from
lie.
I'm
Because
I'm
I
from
have I
I'm
have
from North. I grew up on Lords in the Underground. You know what I'm saying? We had Food Snickers. We had Dr. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I
Like,
know.
When Buster first came out, you understand what I'm saying? Like, so I
Yeah.
understand about coded language. You know what I'm saying? Like, cats still ain't get old dirty
Mhm.
to this day. And this 26 years later,
Right.
you might have missed everything in his entire adult life on the microphone if you weren't paying attention to it. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, if you didn't speak the language, if you were an outsider,
It's
they're
language.
just like, yo, Odie, you was just wild. But if you
It is
spoke
about
that
language.
language, if you
Yeah.
lived in that culture, you see what I'm saying? Culture
Right.
is language is indicative of culture. You see what I'm saying? So if you speak that
Mhm.
language and you understand the culture, you can go and go to Rosetta Stone and learn Russian, but if you ain't lived in Russia, you don't know Russian culture, you just speaking some Russian. You see what I'm saying? So again, there's a
Sure.
culture that's associated with pop, and you might hear some vernacular. You
Mm.
might be saying some stuff you don't even know what you're saying.
Yeah.
For
True.
people around the world,
Which was what makes
um,
it intimate for us as well.
right, hip hop is the first time that they heard English. You see what I'm saying? They
Very
may have
cool.
learned English off of hip hop. There's
Good
so
point.
many people that I ran into in my travels around the world
Mhm.
that this is how they learn the English language from hip hop. They know all of the words of the hip hop songs, so you think they speak English, and then they don't speak no English. That's the English that
That's
they
a
know.
really good point.
You
That's
see what I'm saying?
that's real. Mhm.
So these elements that are there, if you look back to it, there's some people who have respect for the culture, and then there's some people who don't even know that there's a culture. It's like, oh, it's just music because some places
Right.
music is king. You see,
Right.
there is no age limit, there's no time limit.
Mhm.
BB King and them still toured in those places overseas until they transition. Like they,
True.
they went on their final tour. You understand what I'm saying? So
True.
we
True.
look at this genre and we kind of so how do you deal with that in regards to ageism and like what are some techniques you use even you're an educator, how do you bridge the gap from one generation to the next?
It's a really good question. It's something that I think of often, just for myself personally. Not exactly, 16 spitting verses anymore. Actually have a daughter who just turned 14. So, um, I think there are a couple of different aspects of it. I think as an artist, like I have this thing on my wall, the creative process. It says, I don't know whose this is, but it says, this is awesome. Step 1, 2, this is tricky. 3, this is crap. 4, I am crap. 5, this might be okay. 6, this is awesome. So, I think we go through these phases just personally within ourselves, as artists, where it's like, you have moments where you might question things, whether it's what you're creating or the fact that you're creating, but any real artist is going to always come back to that and have that desire, that itch to still create. So I think this idea of ageism is really important, because at a certain juncture, you think, well, damn, maybe I'm too old to be doing this shit, you know. And that's real. I have those conversations with myself. I have those conversations with family members, with friends, and it's always, nah, you wild, and keep putting out stuff because this is just who you are. Fever and myself, he's like, you put no age limit on it, something that's very Jay-Z philosophized, you just keep doing it. And I think a lot of the foundational hip hop artists, are a testament to that. Big Daddy Kane still gives an amazing show, and Kane was out doing things officially before I was. Master Ace, shout to Ace. Ace, same thing. Ace is outperforming. I mean, maybe not right now due to, Rona, but the point is, it's not about age. It's about the music. It's about the craft. It's about, the continuation of that and just remaining true to who you are. You're an artist, right? So a doctor wouldn't stop being a doctor, but ageism is even relative then. If you're a surgeon, you may not be performing surgery at 89 if your hands are shaking and stuff. So doesn't mean you stop being who you are, but you may not practice it in the same way. You may still follow it because it is a culture, it is a lifestyle, right? But you may not do the hands-on portion exactly the way that you would have done it. And so the question becomes, like you said, well, then how does it translate into a different way? How do you stay with it? And I think for me recently, this idea of education is something that also runs in the family. My mother is a retired educator. My brothers are both educators. Breeze and Fever both teach in the Bronx, and they've been there for years in the Bronx teaching. I've taught in the Bronx as well. I've taught in Chicago. I've taught in Westchester. So we're all educators, right? And I think recently for me, it was, okay, well, I've taught special education, I've taught visual arts, and only recently I was like, it would be really nice if I maybe started combining, my experience as a hip hop artist, as just an artist, really, in connection with education, because I've taught a lot of more mainstream things, as opposed to content specific with the artistry. And so just recently I started doing that. And it's been really rewarding, it's frustrating too, because education is not really valued the way that it should be, in a lot of ways, very similar to hip hop, right? So there's some similarities, some commonalities there. But I think just personally at this level, marrying the two, this idea of being an artist and being an educator and educating through the arts is really, really important. And that's not something I started out doing initially. I just more got into education and then eventually was like, hello, light bulb, maybe you should be combining these. So really, really rewarding. I'm grateful I had an opportunity to go to Peru and teach hip hop through a program called Next Level. Shout out to Kane, who's like the group leader on the trip, and my fellow comrades were out there. So much talent, so much knowledge as well, and passion in Peru for hip hop. And it's there heavy, it's worldwide. And so it was just amazing to get an opportunity to do that. And it was also interesting because the language was a barrier. I mean, I'm definitely not fluent in Spanish. So like un poquito, like little un poco, I'm learning still. But what translated was flow, was rhythm, was pattern. So I was able to teach what I do or help facilitate workshops, really, because they were already artists. They are artists. And I've been doing it long enough to know, I think, in my opinion, how I can help enhance certain things that I see, or give certain exercises and things to help build confidence with what they do, because they were already really dope. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a major part of it. And also my daughter, I bring in her because, as we were talking about before, a lot of the things she listens to may not necessarily be things that I listen to, but then she puts me onto some things that I may not have listened to, but have dope elements or dope on the whole or dope aspects. And so she teaches me, honestly, about things that I wasn't even aware of. And this new age of hip hop or new age of music or new age of rap, if you want to connect with your kids, you're going to have to listen to some of it. It's like my mom probably wouldn't listen to Mobb Deep then, and she wouldn't listen to Mobb Deep now. She'd be like, oh God, Peridot, what is that? You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's a culture of the fabric of who I was developmentally growing up. And so she may not be a fan of the music, but I could play it for her, be like, oh God, what's that? Mom, this is such and such, So for my daughter, I'm experiencing something similar where it's like, oh God, how many times did they say what core, like there's nothing in it, but we can sit and analyze it together. And it's an opportunity to connect and have conversation. And at the end of the day, to me, that's more important than, dare I say, the music, family, but it becomes a vehicle, right? It goes back to that word language that you spoke about. So, ageism in that respect, I can give my daughter a contrast to be like, okay, you like that? Well, check out this, or that's trash versus this, or yeah, that's all right versus reminds me of this. So music on a whole in its different like chronological phases, it's important to explore all of it as an artist. You don't ever put anything away, Yeah.
Drops the mic. Boom.
Get some water.
You understand? Get some water. Bars on top of bars.
Mm-hmm.
I think the greatest profession on the planet after mother
Hmm.
is educator.
Thank you for saying that.
After
It is.
mother is educator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. After mother. Like mother is the highest of the high ones.
She is the educator, right? She's one of the first.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So entrusting the care of your precious jewels, your tomorrow, in
Mm-hmm.
the hands of another
Mm-hmm.
educator. You know what
Jewel.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The preparation,
Right.
the gestation period, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
the pure pain and bloodshed of delivery, labor and
Oh,
delivery,
oh,
and then out
right.
into the world, the sustainability. You see what I'm saying? And then
Right. It's a
taking,
child. It's a
allowing something to break the hold and bond between mother and child
mm-hmm.
called, you know, Head Start, pre-K, kindergarten,
Mm-hmm.
elementary school, you said
Yeah.
middle school,
Yeah.
high
Yeah.
school,
Mm-hmm.
university. You see what I'm saying? The level of trust in them formative years in the most impressionable time of the jewel's life. Our ancestors returned in what we call children. Our job
Right.
as spirit guides and physical guides on the
Right.
planet for them to
Right.
entrust that care into
Hmm.
next. That there has to be a relationship there. There
Yeah.
has to be an understanding, you know. So those cultural confines have to be in place. Those cultural safeguards have to be in place. The due inquiry into the learning style has to be in place. You see what I'm saying? That's a
Right.
relationship.
Good
That's
word.
like the,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a birthing symbiote process all over again. You have to be able to trust and establish trust
I agree.
and build rapport.
I agree.
You understand what I'm
I
saying?
agree.
In the
Spoken
same
like this.
process
Yeah.
of the gestation in the womb,
Mm,
the gestation in the mind. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
And you are an ambassador of what they see or feel or think about this institution, about this society that they're in. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, and they talk amongst their peer group. Oh, who you got? Oh, yo. Oh, yo. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, most
This
definitely.
is ratemyteacher.com. This ain't the damn website. This is
It's real.
mouth to ear. You understand what I'm
That's
saying?
real. And that's the
So,
realist
like,
rating. That's the realist rating, honestly. That's how you really know. And trust, that word that you use, to me, that's the foundation of education. You can't teach anything until your students have a sense of trust and security with you, comfort.
that's your audience on the microphone.
Oh, all day. Honestly,
You understand what I'm saying? Like,
I think, yeah,
that's your audience on the
being an
microphone.
MC, being an artist, that's helped with being an educator and vice versa. You know, when you're in front of a classroom for 45 minutes to 2 hours, you on stage. You on stage.
Right.
And they either throwing tomatoes or spitballs, or going to sleep or leaving. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Leaving the show or leaving to go for a bathroom break because they don't want to be there. Can I go to the bathroom?
Right.
So very, very similar. And so I think being an artist actually has helped with being an educator and vice versa. They've strengthened. They both professions or both realms have helped to sharpen the sword for sure. They go hand in hand. They're so similar. You have to prepare for both.
So
It's very, very similar. You have lesson plans versus verses and track, how it's going to be mapped out for the day. Very, very,
right.
very similar. Do nows in a classroom, intros, warm
Mm,
ups, say what's up to the crowd,
mm,
on stage. It's so similar. Closing out the show, yoga looking out, wrap ups in the classroom, summarizing, exit tickets. It's so similar. Very similar. Very similar.
both stages. Do you get the same kind of high, or is the high kind of different from one
Damn,
to the
that's a great
next?
question. I've never had that question. Let me think about this. Hmm. So my first response in my first internal response to the question, I had to think about it. I would say, which is so weird because sometimes I fight this. I would say the classroom. I would say the classroom, which is so weird because I fight sometimes as an educator. I've been in a classroom many times and said, man, I should be writing verses. And that's horrible to say because I love my children. I love my students. But I realized when I was in situations and I had gotten to that point, I removed myself. Whether that was good or not, I removed myself because I do feel like you should be 100% present. You should be there. And so I realized when I had gotten to that stage in one or two situations teaching, I pulled out, I pulled back, and I focused on my music because I knew I wasn't 100% there, or I focused on my art, visual arts, because I wasn't 100% there. And that's what the students deserve. In retrospect, I would have done it differently. I probably wouldn't have started the semester. You know, you learn, you grow, but my personality is also the type that I really do try to listen to how that voice and how I'm feeling, and I move accordingly. So, but I say the classroom because there's something that happens in the classroom when your students or whoever's taking the class, when they really get it. And there's an exchange in energy. There's like a light bulb that goes off on them that you see that they've gotten it. You see that they've understood it. You see they've grasped the concept. And there's a certain joy, I think, just personal joy, where you're like, wow, I actually did something that I was able to translate in a language or in a format that they understood it. So there was a transfer. And in that transfer now, it's not tangible, right? But I gave them something, and I gave them something that now can become tangible through their experience, which is very, very powerful, right? So it's a sharing of something, but it can manifest into, I've had students who've, written verses. I've had students who've painted paintings because I've taught visual arts, and so something that I gave them that's not tangible from me, it's just my knowledge, my experience, my passion, materialized into something through them. And then you see that aha moment in the classroom where they get it. And it's really just more exposing them or sharing with them something that they kind of already knew, but they didn't know they knew. And I've experienced that myself, even with Breeze. There've been times when I was younger and we were writing, and I remember him saying to me, you're doing stuff that you don't even realize you're doing yet, and it didn't dawn on me really, really at the time. But then after I got it, like, oh, this is what he was talking about. And so as an educator, in that moment, he was teaching me as an educator, you get to see that. And there's something powerful with just knowing that that seed, that mustard seed, can manifest or mature into a tree, and then they can now pass that on or share that and inspire other people. Whereas in an audience, you do have those moments. But I think it's a little bit different. Like, you have those moments where you go in and it's like, oh shoot, you're spitting a verse or doing a song, and the audience is regurgitating, like they're saying it with you, and it's like, oh shit, they know my stuff. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I've touched somebody in a way where they retained it, they know it, they're sharing it. So there's that moment that occurs too. And it's a high. It's a definite high, because I love being on stage too. It's like a mix of emotions and, nervous butterflies, but anxious and excited, right? But then they leave. The difference with the classroom, and it's mixed, because sometimes I've had students come back, no disrespect, and I'm like, oh God, this one again. You know what I mean? I love my kids, but I'm like, oh boy, I gotta deal with this one again. Lord, give me strength. Any educator knows that that's real. Doesn't mean you don't love your kids, but it's like, boy, this is a challenge. I know I'm gonna have to deal with some stuff today, So they come back. And so you're able to build a rapport and you said the word rapport before. So you're able to build a rapport and a relationship with the students that's a little bit different from that of just performing, right? You have like that one instant high. It's like a lustful night of, oh God, this was amazing, versus a lifelong marriage or, a seasonal thing with someone where you actually are able to share, experiences and memories over a time period. So I think it's more the element of time that kind of makes it different, not necessarily that either one is less significant, if that makes sense. What a break.
That makes
Mm. Both really special.
We got all this is, bars, water break, get the water, bong.
Mm.
I got
Yeah,
the water right here. I tried to touch it and I couldn't. You understand what I'm
I
saying? Because
appreciate
I was
that.
that
Really good
gay.
question though. Wow.
I was in the crowd. I was in the crowd like heroin,
That is
heroin,
wild, though. I'm not
heroin.
gonna lie, because the kids can't get, the kids can get live, but they can only get but so live. And I've let my kids listen to like music and stuff like that, but it's still kind of hush hush in the crowd. It's different highs. It's different highs, but both very, very, very significant. And I've had favorite shows, just like I've had favorite classes. I mean, it's just being honest, Don't mean you don't love any show less or love any kid less, but you have your favorite shows, favorite performances, and then you have your
At least
favorite.
you're being honest. That's hard for a mother. You know what I'm saying? To be like, I told my mother, I'm like, yo, ma, you got a favorite, okay?
I think all
No,
mothers
I
do.
love all of my children equally.
Really, that's what I'm.
I'm like, ma,
That's the right
ma,
response.
ma, I know you, ma. I know you, okay? I know you. You got a favorite.
Right,
It's
right,
7 of us.
right. Wow.
I seen how you work. I seen how you work. You
Right,
have a
right.
favorite.
I
You know.
agree.
Uh,
I agree. I agree. I mean, my daughter is my
so for you
favorite,
being
but
the
that's just
youngest,
because I have
yeah,
one.
you lucked out. She lucked out. Okay, she
Mhm.
lucked out. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh, she
but I
forced.
agree. I
That's
just
the
mothers have.
contract, y'all. That's love.
Mm-hmm.
You the youngest child, and the
Yeah.
youngest child has a responsibility to maintain the family archives
Oh,
genetically. All of the genetic memory of the family
mm,
is in the youngest child. All of it. My youngest sister remembers shit. I'm like, how the hell do you remember that? You understand? Like
mm.
understanding that youngest child response. That's a responsibility. That's a
Mhm.
duty. See what
Heavy.
I'm saying? Like that archive to see everything happen
Right.
and take it all, in
Yeah.
and store it,
Right.
in the archival records of the family. She has it. You see what I'm saying? The youngest child, they have it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is why the discipline is less. Because by the time they get to the youngest, the parents have crafted a family instruction manual. The eldest, they got this shit show because there's no book. There's no book. You see what I'm saying? There's no book. There's no training. There's no
My brother
seminar.
a couple.
None of that. You understand? You can
Mhm.
read all of the books you want. All right, that's great. No, you got to cut your teeth in life and see what's going on.
Mm.
So you have to learn those things. So by the time you get to the youngest, you are fashioned, you're shaped, you're seasoned, you're experienced.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? You did all your effing up projects before them. You know what I'm saying? So you're like, all right, let me get to this. I'm I'm saying that
Mm.
to lead
What's
to
so tired?
your, your solo project. You see what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
I'm looking. I want to know about this. Metamorphosis taking place that continues to take place daily, as you stated. Um,
Yeah. I think for me,
kind of,
metamorphosis. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you was about to answer already. You
Oh
already answered.
yeah,
You
yeah.
said,
I think metamorphosis for me was about was about challenging myself to see if I could actually pull it off. I knew I had something to say. I had things to say. I had been really inspired by what I had done collectively so far with my brothers, with other group affiliations. Um, I was more interested at that stage of my artistry just to develop myself, right, as an artist. I think this really is a good connection because being the youngest one, sometimes it's like you get associated just by default, like, oh, you Breeze's little sister, oh, you Kev's little sister, which I've gotten my whole life, which is an honor because I'm proud of what my brothers have done and continue to do. They've certainly set a serious foundation. I think they're one of the most, and I know I'm part of the Juggaknots, but there was an existence of Juggaknots before I was affiliated directly. And so as a fan myself of the group, I think that they are one of the most underrated yet foundational groups of that whole movement that existed. And it's just the truth. It's just the truth. What they were doing musically, creatively, they were just setting really high standards and quality music and putting out quality music. And so being the youngest and seeing all of that and just kind of automatically feeling there was a sense of attachment. I knew I had done the work to be part of the group when I was, right? I had already started doing other things outside, and my brothers were like, okay, she's ready, right? But then after I had done those things with my brothers, I felt like I need to do this for myself to prove to myself that there's an audience that exists separate from that, right? Rather than this sense of codependent, well, not codependency, but dependency or connection. I wanted to stand out on my own just to show myself, okay, you can do this, and there's value in what you do, and there's you have a specific voice, you have a specific sound, you have something to say, and there are people who want to hear it, separate from just the group, right? Because it makes you question. It's almost like, even in the past, I've gotten jobs, and it's like, oh, okay, when I first started teaching, my first teaching experience was through a friend of my brother's. And it was like, oh, okay, I know this lady, she's into, so it's through affiliation. Okay, later on, I started teaching a little bit more, went back to school. Okay, cool. My mom was like, all right, you want this job? Why don't you apply full time? I had done it part time over the summer. I applied. Okay, well, I know I know this one, I know the principal, okay, got the gig. After a while of that, and I've been blessed with those opportunities now, not to take anything away from what I've done, because if I wasn't able to handle the job, I wouldn't have, if I now in the position. However, when you do something and you're able to acquire that position on your own, there's a sense of pride that is connected to that, where it's like, man, I did this. It wasn't through this, for that, because of that, on the heels of that. No, you put in the work, you had the skill, you had the quality, and you were able to acquire that position because of that. And so for me with Metamorphosis, it was just this idea of feeling like I had developed enough as an artist, but there was still a question mark personally. And I wanted to eradicate that. I wanted to make sure that I knew for myself that I was good enough, to stand on my own and put something out that was a project that reflected who I was, rather than just through affiliation. Yeah. And I did. It was a very personal album, which most of my material is, as far as like solo material. It's an opportunity to just kind of creatively, voice how I'm feeling at that time. And it was an important project for me. Yeah.
That's a heck of a story. I'm a crazy woo head.
Who isn't? Anyone?
I'm a crazy woo head. And my favorite member of the Wu-Tang. And I'm continuously putting this contract out to the universe to get 20 minutes, 30 minutes with Master Killer. He is my favorite member out of the Wu-Tang. He is the last one to come to the group. He was the last one to put out an album. You see what I'm saying? So he's like not the youngest in age, but the youngest in membership in regards to the Wu-Tang. He was the last one.
Right.
And ever since I heard him on Mystery of Chess Boxing. You see what I'm saying? And you heard everybody else's solo project that would come after, Dirty, Meth, Raekwon, Ghostface, Donna. You see what I'm saying? Then it would come back and do the compilation album. Again, I'm looking. You hear Deck. You hear You God. You see what I'm saying? Everybody. And I'm like, did I miss Master Killer's album?
Right.
So 2004, June of 2004, his album comes out. No set date. 6 months later, Dirty Transitions. You see what I'm saying? Like 6 months later in that same year, he comes out with No Said Date, and everybody's on the album.
Mm.
Everybody's on the album. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
So, you know, we was talking about hip hop earlier with the timelessness of it. You see
Right.
what I'm saying? So it's just like our sojourn. You can hear, peace be upon him, Malcolm X speak 50, 60 years ago, and it sounds like yesterday. It sounds like today. You see what I'm saying? The timelessness in regards to the thread. So we were talking about the age on hip hop. Look at the age. There's no age to our sojourn. You see what I'm saying? You're
Right.
talking about a timelessness.
Mhm.
So apropos for his album to be titled No Said Date, apropos for your album to be called Metamorphosis, this transformative situation. You see what I'm saying? This gestation that's happening, you know, under the ground before it hits topsoil. By the time you see it, the
Mm.
crop come out of the ground. You don't know the tumultuous journey of what took place under the ground, because as soon as the
Right.
seed is planted and it starts to develop, so does the weed. You see the weed come out of the ground full blown before you see any crop. You see what I'm saying? And
So
your
true.
first thought is to snatch up the weed from the ground, and the weed is serving the purpose. If you see a crop come out of that ground, you
Mhm.
know you have the strongest and most viable crop on the planet. It went through hell underground.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So now you look at, the Juggaknots. This is why y'all did through hell underground. You understand what I'm saying? So boom, when they pop up, you understand what that is. So the marriage that exists in between the concepts that come, from you and through you in whatever arena that you in, is magnificent. You see what I'm saying? And it looks great to us, but we don't know the hell that you went through before the topsoil,
Always a
before we saw
process.
the fruits of the labor. You see what I'm saying? Before we engaged in the bountiful harvest called this project. You see what I'm saying?
Always a process.
So
I agree.
yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it, and I'm thankful to have an opportunity
Years
for
actually.
it to be. Mm,
Yeah, metamorphosis took some years. So what you're saying is really valid. It took longer than I had hoped or wanted, but it came out in its time. So you're right. So many different elements that you don't see, you know. That's real. And that's with any artist. That's with any artist.
I
That's with
love
any
it.
person.
Right,
Any person. You never know what happens behind closed doors, what happens underground, as part of that development period. But that's what gives you character, you know. So just makes you stronger. But them weeds are real too. And weeds are real too.
right,
I like the idea of not pulling them up, right? 'Cause they serve a purpose,
right,
for damn sure.
right,
Indeed.
right. Now, you linked up in the group with my twin sister. I got to shout her out before we go. Amazing spitter, and you was in a class with these amazing MCs. I'm not gonna call them female MCs because Star not gonna punch me in the face when she see me. You understand what I'm saying? Like you
Don't want no piece of that.
amazing, phenomenal
Right.
MC. I don't want no piece of that. You
Right.
understand? So, can we get some of that story of how y'all kind of linked up and we saw all of this magic happen after y'all linked up?
Well, shout out to Key Turner. I'll briefly talk about that. So Key Turner, that's one whole story in itself. That's a part of a Key Turner and myself, along with, man, it was like a female woo at the time. It was like about seven or eight of us. Shout out to MFW, shout out to Seven, who I haven't seen in a while. I miss y'all. Shout out to Gangali. There were quite a few of us, but it was split. It was some of the artists, some of the MCs were in, and singers were in, I think, Virginia at the time. And then we were in the Bronx and Westchester at the time. and it was like a New York and Virginia affiliation, and I got connected, and the group was called Gypsies, and I think MFW knew was connected. I don't know if it was with Key Turner, who had a different name at the time, but I got connected to all of the Virginia artists through more MFW, who was New York Bronx, who I got connected to through Breeze. So there's like a lot of different connect, but eventually it brought all of us together. And yeah, so Gypsies developed, and it was just, I think the biggest challenge was probably the distance. I think the distance at the time, we were trying to do things, shows, put music together. And again, this is a long time ago. It's a little while back. And so the way that we do things fluidly now, as far as, get on this joint and just send a verse through technology and whatever. Yeah, you can do that. I think when it's a song, but when it's a whole group, it's a little tricky. I think it's important to have that sense of connection for building purposes, for just closeness experiences. It's just different. And so I think we were trying to pull off something that was a major challenge, and we never really put anything out formally. But it was a dope group. We were dope. It was a dope group, man. I'm just glad to be a part of it. So we did things, we did have shows, and eventually it kind of split off, where I think Virginia artists were still doing stuff there, and then Gypsies kind of transitioned to more like a New York thing, and we were doing New York's Gypsy stuff out here. Again, I think proximity played a major part into it. But from back then, I knew Key was dope. She was always dope. she always had she was always, I couldn't wait to hear what she wrote and hear the song, because I knew her verse was going to be fire, and it was fire then, and it's fire now. She's developed even more as an artist, but she's always been wicked. She's always had like a slick, she's always been a beast. So we relinked, thanks to thanks to social media, through Instagram. And she hit me up, was like, yo, what's up, Herawin, long time, DM me. I'm like, oh shoot, what's good? And literally just, that's the beauty too, I think, with getting older, is you just understand and value life differently. Your perspective shifts, and it's just like, oh shit, what's good? 10, 20 years pass, and you just have that same common thread, and so we link back. We've done some music that's going to be coming out, hopefully soon. And I think heads are going to be really excited and pleased. It's really good music, quality stuff. We actually have something through Key's connection with Knots. Knots is putting together an amazing project that just has a whole slew of female artists it's just an amazing project, and I'm excited. So shout out to Knots as well, for having me on that project, and for Key for linking us. And as far as Ty Phoenix and Star, with the project, the song that we did together, Kill Bill 3, very similar. Again, social media. The difference is, I've known Ty for like a while. We go back too. I mean, Ty's been spitting for years. Star's been spitting for years. This is nothing new for us. We've been doing this for a long time, professionally, and the difference is, Ty and I never collaborated. Neither had myself or Star. And Ty just hit me up one day and was like, I was in Chicago at the time, and she was like, yo, what's good, Herawin? I got this beat. You want to rock on it? And I heard the beat, and I was like, oh, that joint go hard, and I wrote the verse, maybe like a day or two later, I sat with it. And then I was like, all right, gotta get into the studio. That took me a little time because I was teaching at the moment, but I went in the studio maybe about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, and I recorded it, sent it back, and Stars on it. And I think it's a classic record. I think it's a classic song. People automatically were just like, yo, y'all need to do a group together. Yo, y'all need to do an album together, and people's lives, there's so much that we have going on. But at the same time, hopefully we'll be able to, put some more stuff together, because there's a real synergy between the three of us. For sure. I had fun doing it, and recording the video was a very interesting experience. So, kicking down that door, it just by the magic of the universe happened to be there. It was like, hey, let's kick that down, like in a backyard alley spot. So it works out. But it was really fun, man. It's an honor to, connect and work with people who you respect as artists and have that level of skill and talent, and you just put it all together, and it makes something special. Excuse me. Is technology good? Oh, there we go. I think.
Right. Yeah. You seen the joint go on flipping. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay, you back.
Yeah.
That just means our timetable. We wrapping up. That's all. Thank God it happened at the end. Rona trying to take over. Knowledge born. I think it's fading. It's fading. It's fading quickly. I'm gonna hold tight for a second, hoping that you come back. But if not, I want to thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure being part of the interview. Yeah. Oh, I'm seeing stuff like this happen, y'all. Okay. You back in the building? I was seeing circular stuff winding down. So I don't know. Oh, shucks. It might be a wrap, y'all.
Mic check, mic check.
Yeah, I heard you for a second there. It's chopping up.
Mic
pretty
check,
bad.
mic check. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah. I think we've been blessed with almost 4 hours. So yeah, might have to shut it down.
Right. I have to shut it down. Closing remarks, acknowledgement, shout outs, where people can find you. How can they book you? Are you taking collabs? Anything?
Always up for a collaboration. You can hit me up at Queen Herawin, spelled HERAWIN, Queen Herawin info at gmail.com. You can hit me up there. If you're interested in anything performance and music wise, you can definitely follow me on Instagram at The Queen Herawin, one word, again, HERAWIN. So that's The Queen Herawin at Instagram. Definitely follow the fam at the Juggaknots. That's JUGGAKNOTS, the Juggaknots. Shout out to everyone who was also connected to the last project, the EP that I put out, The Space Between Things. Chizzy Track, who did music on there. Low Key X, who did music on there, MP, who did music on there, and Paragon, who did music on there, as well as the features that I had with the many aliases of the other half on there. B Raw, aka Pastor Jin, aka Brian Marshall. Shout out to Ibis Regalia, affiliated clothing line that's out right now. Go check it out, ibisregalia77.com. Shout out to the fam. Shout out to my baby. Shout out to all these people in this crisis. Hold it down, y'all. Do what you need to do so we can be safe and get back to some sense of normalcy and togetherness, whatever that means. Stay strong. Sorry for all of those who have experienced loss. Stay creative and stay checking out Knowledge Born Allah. You already know the deal. So grateful to be on your program, man. I'm trying to see, did I forget anybody? Nope. Just make sure y'all do the knowledge. Do that knowledge radio. Check it out. Thank you again, sir, for having me, man, for keeping hip hop alive, brother.
I need a volume 2 so we can focus strictly on the music. Like your story needed justice. I'm saying I don't want to watch it on unsung. I'd rather have it organic. You understand what I'm saying?
For sure.
So
Shout out to my
I need the
too.
volume two.
Yeah, the volume 2. I'm
Right,
there for that. Yeah, hopefully by then we'll also have some new music to share as well.
right. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Thank you so
Well,
much. Same to you, and thanks for everybody who checked in today. Appreciate it.
all right.
All right, y'all.
We out,
Peace.
family. Peace.